Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DumbKants.
Let's start off with a nice, sort of simple one. Right. Do you reckon I had this idea in my many and varied trips in my life, in the world, where my inner monologue takes over? I'm in an elevator, someone steps in with me, and I have the idea, and I'm just like, yeah, fucking hell, I wanted this elevator to myself so I can stare at myself in the mirror or preen or sing or do something like that that's not socially acceptable. I gotta hold in all my farts now. Do you reckon if the elevator was to suddenly, emergency lights go on and everything like that, would you prefer to be stuck in an elevator by yourself or with someone else?
Who's the other person?
No, don't. All right, okay. There is a sliding scale here. I agree with that. I'll put you actually in the perfect position. Guy's in a business suit, a smart grey business suit. There's a few little rumples on it. Looks like he didn't shave for 3 odd days. So there's like a little bit of scraggly stubble going on. A few bags under his eyes. His hair's a bit mussy. You happy with him, or do you want to be there by yourself?
He's potentially interesting, but probably by myself.
Okay. All right. Oh, actually, yeah. Okay. Here's one to keep it nice and topical as men. Hot woman in the elevator, stuck with you.
100%.
Really?
Yeah.
It just feels weirdly rapey to me.
It is. No, but you don't do that. It's just...
I'm not saying you fucking rape her,
No,
but it's just
but
sort of like you maintain your distance. You're like, all right, this is okay. I'll sit here in this corner. You can have the rest of the area, and I will not come within
Okay.
a bull's fart of like touching you, just so that like nobody gets the wrong idea about this, and I get kicked out of the company, put into prison, live on a futon when I'm 50.
Well, that's the trick. You don't make any big deal about it. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? You're just like, hey, baby, here we are together.
All I'm going to say is you're in a tiny box, potentially in the dark, in like...
Trent, if you're going where I think you're going, you're going to have some massive fucking game. Because, it's just like, at any point in time, those doors are going to spring open.
True.
And she's going to you're going to have half a ball out and she's going to have her tits out.
All I'm saying
nobody's going to be happy.
There's more potential for fun there if you're stuck there together.
All right, what if it's an uggo?
If it's an argo,
Yeah.
it's a bit different. Look, regardless of who it is, as long as it's interesting conversation, sure, I'm all for it. Where if it's like...
Maybe you want to cut down on that conversation though, Trent, because you ain't got a certain amount of air in there, you know that, right?
Yeah.
When it starts to get a little bit humid and a little bit hot, that's when I'd stop speaking if I was you.
I don't think those things are airtight, so I reckon it wouldn't start.
My elevator is. How do you feel now?
Oh, well now you... Okay. So you've got a really big OH&S issue.
Look, Trent, this is when I finally stop dicking around, get motivated, become a Bond villain, have an underwater base. My elevators, they have to be airtight, Trent.
Look, okay, well, if I'm in an airtight elevator...
So you're in your little, your grey uniform, it's got a big A on your lapel just to show that you're part of my organisation. You've got a shaved head, of course, because, and you, whatever your sidekick gimmick is, you throw your wristwatch at people or something like that.
Okay.
And there's the cute little intern, she's in there with you. Elevator's going down. You see me over the intercom sorry, I'm very new to this. This is infrastructure problems. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. You're probably going to be there for about... look, we can't get crews up there. It's underwater. It's going to be like a day or something like that. You just hang tight. Just hang tight.
Right.
You happy with that situation?
I'm underwater?
You're in a tube, which is underwater, so it's airtight. Look, I don't give a fuck about employee security because who are they going to complain to? So I don't have any ventilator system or anything like that.
Right. Is there any water in the tube?
No.
Okay,
no,
brilliant.
you're fine.
Awesome. So what I would do in this elevator tube, I would still prefer another person for the simple fact of it's going to be a lot easier for me to get out.
You're in the middle of the ocean, Trent. You're stuck in a tube. There is no hope of escape. I just said you've got 24 hours to satisfy yourself in this little tube.
24 hours to satisfy myself.
Yeah.
If you're asking whether or not I can satisfy myself better on my own or with someone else.
Yes. Well, but okay, so here's the implication. A hot chick, you're going to fuck her, right? And then you're just going to be sitting there and it's going to be where's this relationship going? And you've got nowhere to run to, Trent. I know your normal tactic is oh shit, I've got explosive diarrhea. I just forgot. Let me go sit in the bathroom for the next 20 minutes until you feel awkward and leave. You can't do that. She's going to have jism dripping and just be Trent, You're all up in there. We have to have this talk now.
One primary point here.
What do you fake a fit or something like
One
that?
primary point here.
Okay.
If we're going to choose between men or women in terms of the elevator setting.
Is he a cute guy? Is that what you're going to say?
No. Well, maybe I might swing that way once I start getting loopy on lack of oxygen.
You get to about 12 hours.
I get, yeah, okay, and then I'm low on oxygen.
But let's be honest, you're going to be the
No.
you're going to be the bottom in that
So,
relationship.
guy and girl
Yeah.
offer exactly the same thing, potentially, regardless of not... Okay, this is without... Hang on.
I'll just say, yes, they've both got assholes.
No,
now I'll
no,
let you go back to the highbrow, please.
Off the sex. Okay. So they both potentially offer the same stuff, right?
Yep.
Which is, without knowing any details about the individual, they both offer potentially intellectual, stimulating, or interesting conversation, right? They both provide company in some regard by just their presence, so you're not alone and going crazy in a tiny little tube. The difference, though, is... Oh, and they both potentially offer someone attractive to look at. I think guys can appreciate other guys, but not necessarily on that level. Now, where it's different is by having the extra benefit of sexual attraction and that avenue, you've added something else to your list of ways to potentially be entertained and stimulated in the conversation. So
it's kind of like a sped up version of real life, isn't it? It's just like, I need diversions. All right, we'll have a conversation. We'll have sex. Maybe we'll eat whatever we find in our pockets, like some mints. Yeah. We'll have a shit in the corner and we'll go to sleep. Yeah. And it's like, that's life condensed. Yeah. Essentially.
And like, I can do more with women than I can do with men, unless I'm getting oxygen deprived and loopy, and then I might start fancying men.
You can't bloody have a push-up competition with women. You'll fucking smoke them.
Well, there's that, actually. That's true.
But look, you don't want to be doing that.
But we don't want to do that. We're going to lose oxygen faster.
You don't want to fuck in an elevator either if there's limited oxygen.
I'd be willing to make that sacrifice.
I just imagine you like, sort of pounding away on the floor and then like sticking your head up where there's the clean air up the top.
Look, I don't know.
She's going to be dead by that point, you monster.
Looking at it from a purely logical perspective,
I don't care.
There's more I can get out of it.
Alright, fair enough.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Like, potentially, not like just abstractly, like I can just...
Alright,
there's more...
ladies, you are one unfortunate situation by getting quite the raping.
I brought this up earlier in the week. I don't know if we've talked about it yet. Have we talked about charity jars? Did you think about that topic?
Did we talk about charity jars?
We briefly did in the kitchen.
Okay, refresh my memory.
Okay, so I went and got a haircut, and while doing so, I went shopping in this Asian grocer place.
Okay.
And I went in there. I got my little jar of sauce or whatever I was buying.
It wasn't actually an Asian grocer. Australia's just like horrendously multicultural these days. he was just on King Street in Sydney.
Yeah, that's right. And I brought so I was buying my lentils or whatever, and then I just noticed on the counter while I was being served by this ambivalent older Asian woman.
Did she have a mole, or a beard? Like a few wispy chin.
No, she didn't have any of that, but she was just slightly overweight. She had the classic jade bangle. Yeah.
She probably knew kung fu.
Doesn't even really bother to put on pleasantries because she's that sick of...
secretly angry at some other Asian country for a year war that went on 1,000 years ago.
Bloody Tibet think they can be free.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I noticed this jar on the counter which says it's a charity jar for a Buddhist temple fund thing. Right. And so I was looking at that and I just thought, I have some spare change that I don't want to hold on to. But then I didn't put it in the jar because the thought crept into my head that does that really go to this some Buddhist charity thing, temple maintenance or something, or does it just go to the grocer?
Yeah, whereas if you hang on to that change, you can stand on top of a car park and try to take out people's windscreens.
Yeah, that's right. Or I could use it for parking. But either way,
whatever you're into.
Yeah. But you could take out other people's cars. That'll divert the attention away from your illegal parking.
Oh my god, it all works.
But I was just thinking there is no requirement, technically speaking, I think, that you need to set up a charity jar. You just put a jar and say, it's for this. I pledge to put whatever money you put in this jar towards this cause.
I reckon with like fucking obnoxious hipster culture, you can literally do that. You put like a mason jar on your local coffee joint, just like a scrappy bit of paper that you put like something ironic on it, like, lesbian whales or something like that. You don't even say for the lesbian whales, you just write that on it. And then people are just, like all the hipsters are like, I support this in an ironic way.
The lesbian whales.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just found that sort of turned me off it because I was like, I actually don't know where my money's going. And that's ultimately why I don't donate to a lot of charities. No, like, there are some which, they have a certain reputation, but I've even known people who have come from the inside of, like, certain charities, which I'm not going to name, where they reckon that, there are a lot of periods where they end up using that funding to go on these big retreats with all the people who work for them, which cost a fortune. And they use a lot of that funding for that rather than actually going towards the cause. Some of it does, but they skim a lot off for these retreats and these
absolutely. I'm of complete agreement. I'm thinking though, like, sorry to bloody segue off what you were saying, which is I just completely agree with that. I don't actually have any point. I'm like, yes, some charities are goddamn awful. We should steer away from them. But do you reckon with that charity jar, can you give yourself a moral like star on the board? Because, like you said, you're just like, oh, I don't want this changed, so I'll just fucking chuck it at anything. I'll, like, throw it at a homeless person. I don't give a shit. So and it's just like, you can't give yourself a pat on the back if it's a charity, because you didn't consciously go out there like, I'm going to support the children in Africa and buy them goats and everything. No, you're just a lazy bastard who's like, oh, my paper-thin wallet doesn't fit these coins.
Yeah.
And you like discard it in a limp-wristed, like, Lord way.
See, and this is something I've been thinking about this recently. This is hilarious. I don't give myself moral stars for most stuff, and the only reason being is just the way I view morals, which is like
they hold down people. It's for the weak.
No. Like,
exploit people when you can.
What I think is
Trent's an animal.
I think there's a difference between being moral and being naive. Let's just break it to a basic.
Hang on, so there isn't a difference between moral and naive, is that what you're saying?
No, there is a difference. There's a difference between being moral and just being naive about the world.
Oh, okay.
So, like, it's easy to say I'm good because I've never even contemplated the thought of stabbing someone.
No, you don't get moral points in my book for things you didn't do.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, say you have someone who's just like, how could this person kill this other person? I would never do that. I have never even thought about that.
That's just someone who lacks creativity. That's what I always think. I'm like, I can always come up with a circumstance where I'll do any act, no matter how heinous.
But my point is, like, you'll see examples of your stereotype, like your typical, like, pious hero, right?
Right.
Who comes in there, there's not an ounce of badness about their person at all, right? Like, and I don't know if you've heard of the problem of evil, but this is how I justify God, like, if there is a God, as a entity that could potentially create evil by still being a virtuous being.
Yeah.
In the sense that in order to truly be moral, I feel you need to conquer the evil. You need to understand and accept that you are capable of evil in order to conquer that evil and therefore be more moral. Where if you are like, I am not evil in any regard, nor am I capable of such a thing, you have nothing to conquer. Therefore, there is no moral fortitude, there's no choice, you just are ignorant of the possibility. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so to me, that's like, I don't see that as moral. So me chucking money into like a charity jar, I'm not actually rectifying the solution. I'm being very lazy and just going like, I have some excess power, here you go, have it. And then
there's something very parochial about it, isn't there?
Yeah. It's just, it doesn't, like, if I really wanted to feel good about myself, and there's like, I don't know.
I don't even feel like giving money ever feels like particularly moral, because it's sort of like, I mean, unless you worked especially hard in like the sulfur mines or something to gain your shekels, and then you're like, family eats, or I help the children. That would be like, you could feel good about that. But, mate, I don't even think donating blood, like, I mean, I did that the other day, but it's just something I do. It's just sort of like, I fucking sit back for a bit. It doesn't even hurt anymore, so I don't even have that, like, choice, and I just eat a cookie, and then I'm done.
And that's what I mean. There's no earning it. So, like, if I really wanted to feel good about myself, I'd go travel to Africa and help some village build some houses.
It's going to be one of those missionary cunts who's just like, now say, hail Jesus, or I'll fucking leave you in the streets, you shit.
No. But see, I don't Yeah, I wouldn't do that part of it. But like, if
But
I
no
wa-
one else is going to
but
Africa.
but what I mean is,
Bloody
if I
awful.
wanted to solve the problem,
Don't even have toilet paper there.
no.
You just use, defunct currency. The inflation's so bad.
That's what our money goes to, is it's toilet paper for the Africans.
Yeah, that's what God knows.
But like, I would just go there and actively fix the problem, not just be like, here's my representation of power, have it, and then someone can turn that into some like actual use. Like, the people who are actually taking the money and turning it into something positive are more morally fortuitous than I am. So I don't give myself any stamps for the money donation.
Okay, if I'm reading into this correct, can I summarize it by saying your moral value that you assign yourself is independent of the amount of good you're actually doing. Like, as in, you could be Bill Gates donating billions and billions of dollars, which does a lot more than some poor, hard-worked cunt, sponge bathing the homeless elderly lepers or something like that. But he would get more moral points because you're actually in the fucking trenches.
Yeah, like, I don't think it's easily on that sort of scale, because like, it's obviously to your individual capacity, right? Bill Gates would have had that money anyway, and he's got that money because he's not intentionally, he didn't start out intentionally just going, I'm going to make billions of dollars so that I can donate it to charity. He's like, I'm going to start a company. I've got this idea. I want to build this idea.
Trent says, fuck Bill Gates.
No, but then again, if you're like some genius of society and you spend your life trying to develop like innovation to improve everyone's lives, that in itself is a fairly moral thing. But if you go in there and you're just like, I'm literally just doing this for my own greed, I'm going to tell everyone I'm doing it for their benefit, then like, that's a bit different. And that's the thing with morals.
And you're a boring cunt at parties. No one wants to talk to the guy who's just like, have you recycled your waste today? Oh, you're flushing that valuable topsoil down the toilet, you bastard.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know. That's how I see that. And so when it comes to the charities, it's just like, I don't get brownie points for that, for me. Because A, I don't know where my money's going. B, I never had to try anything. I would have had that money anyway. I didn't have to earn it. If I worked my...
This is like the definition of first world problems. I've just got so much money, like, I just don't value it. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me.
So if I
sleep on a pallet of iPads, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But forget, like, the 20 African children who died for each one in the manufacturing process.
I personally feel a majority of people who donate to these things only donate because they have enough excess where they feel comfortable giving that away, right?
But that's the business model they work with. Like, charities are never like they never sell it as like a moral crusade. They're not like, this is how you will define your life from now on. No, they're just like, there's this guy, it's only cost you $5. That's the cost of a latte, you could do with it. Or like, one less donut, you fat cunt. They're not.
Well, but they try to guilt trip you. So the fact that they're using guilt tactics, to me, means that they know you have some form of moral obligation or ethical or whatever you want to call it.
But it's the same guilt that you have, like I said, of like, I shouldn't have that extra donut. It's not like you're not valuing human life with your guilt. You're just like trading. You're like, oh yeah, I probably don't need that. And I can feel a little bit better about myself. Just a little bit.
Maybe that works for other people. It doesn't work for me. I don't hold myself on higher ground.
Yeah, but you're a fucking psychopath like me. That's why we're on this podcast together.
That's true.
All right, let's talk about some other shit. Picture, if you will, Trent. I want you to close your eyes and visualize what I'm saying. There we go. For all you know, he's got his eyes open and, he's stroking my thigh right now. Visualize as you will, dear listeners. But, okay, so you're in your bed. You're in your bed. You wake up a little bit later than normal. Oh, that's a bit weird. My alarm didn't go off. Oh, well. Look out the window. Slightly grey day. Nothing's going on. Stumble out a bit. Oh, go downstairs. A bit of breakfast, a bit of toast. Oh, lovely. Get a few crumbs in your beard. Brush it off, no worries. All right, time to go to work. Straight out to the car. Open the garage and you drive. Oh, very quiet today. Nothing's going on. Oh, can't see anyone around. Okay. Pull into work. Oh, free car spots. Oh, there's barely anyone here. Walk into work. Lights are off. It's like, is there anyone here? Has anyone gone to work? What's going on? Is it a public holiday? I don't know. Has another princess died or something like that we have to remember it? How long do you get through the day before you can open your eyes? How long do you get through the day before you go into full apocalypse mode? Is what I'm saying. Like, does it just have to be a quiet day, or do you have to have like a week of not seeing anyone around to be like, all right, it's the end of the world. I'm gonna like break some shop windows and steal some iPods.
My day-to-day life, I notice a lot of people.
What do you mean?
So I think what would happen is, and this is my progression. I'd wake up,
Right.
wouldn't think anything of it, a bit later than normal.
Yeah.
I'd have my breakfast, wipe the crumbs
All right, we don't have to. We don't have to recap exactly what I said. It was bloody long-winded when I said it, so it's going to be fucking intolerable if you say it.
I would start driving.
Yeah.
I would start noticing people aren't around.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think too much of it because I'm generally listening to a podcast or something, so I'd still feel a bit of human interaction.
Righto.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Something's a bit off. There's not as many cars today.
Righto.
I'd start thinking, is the road closed?
Yep.
I'd then get to work.
Yep.
I'd park. No one's there. That's when my alarm bells would instantly go off because there's always...
But I'm saying, when would you start kicking in shop windows? When would you like start like,
like
strapping random hubcaps to you for like armor and, worshipping some inanimate like radioactive rock?
When would I start looting? Or are you asking when...
I can see his moral quandary vein pulsing at his forehead. He's just like, realistically, it's actually just going to be like 2 hours, but he's going to like wind it back to like a week or something like that.
If no one's there,
Yeah.
no one owns anything.
Yeah, but you don't know. That's the thing. All I'm saying, this is your perspective. You just walk out and there's no one around as far as you can tell.
I seriously think I would panic at first and legitimately...
What would panic look like for you?
I'd be like, where the fuck is everyone and what happened?
That doesn't sound like panicking. That just sounds like casual conversation.
But I would get worried I missed something.
I want you to like fall in a ball on the ground, start crying, tear off your shirt. And I was just like, surprise!
No, I'm going to be honest. My immediate assumption would be I slept through some form of public service announcement that either A, there's a nuke headed for the city, or B, there's some form of contagion we need to evacuate.
So you're saying like half an hour realistically, is that right?
I'd get to work. I would start looking around.
Yeah, so like 45 minutes.
No. It would be a few hours of me looking around, trying to find anyone.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Then I would start going into, has the city been evacuated for something that I just fucking slept through?
Yeah.
And then I would be like, why the fuck didn't Alex wake me up? and then...
Because he fucked off himself.
Yeah. And then I would be...
He was straight out the door, mate.
I would be turning on TVs. If the TVs don't work and they don't tell me anything about the world, then I'd be like, okay, the broadcast system is down. Now I'm starting to get into apocalypse mode going like, what has happened? Why is no technology working?
Right.
Well, at least TV. So no one's broadcasting. So then I'd be like, that's a pretty big area of people gone missing and stopping in any interaction.
Could it just be that you're going exactly where no one else is going? They're like, oh, let's all go find Trent. Oh, he'll be at home. And then you go to work.
Yeah.
And then you do the Benny Hill thing. Like,
everyone in the city.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, do I see... Like, it would also depend what I see. Like, if there's abandoned cars or like... And then I think I would bolt straight for the borders to see what happens beyond the city.
Yeah.
And after that, I would start getting really freaked out. I would obviously have tried calling people by now.
All right, look.
And then I would have panicked. And I reckon this is about a day.
Okay, so...
And then I'd start looting the crap out of it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Look, I think I'd be about half that time. I just... it literally wouldn't even be thinking it was the apocalypse. It's like, not a lot of people around today. It's just like, I'm just going to lean on... Whoa! Broken it. Oh, well. I wouldn't want all these things to go to waste.
Actually, there is a caveat. I would have raided places for food by now.
A day?
Yeah, because
you fat cunt. We've got food here.
I'd get hungry. No, but I'm out at work. I've got to go find food.
So you just go to a fucking vending machine or something like that. You don't just fucking break stuff, you savage. Like a day.
I'd go to the cafe and I would nick their good quality food. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Or I'd go to work and I'd raid all of the chocolates.
Bet you wouldn't even do the morally honest thing and put a note saying like, I took this, here's some cash. You'd just take it. I'll fix them up later.
Yeah.
All right. Extension question.
Yes.
You're in an alleyway. You've it's let's call it like 10 o'clock at night. We've been out in the city or something like that. You're just a little bit. You've had a beer or two. Tiny bit tipsy.
All right.
Silhouette
Okay.
dragging its foot.
Hands go to keys and wedge them between my fingers.
And it's dragging its foot. So you just deck the cunt?
I would prepare this while I'm walking, and then I would look over my shoulder.
It's a dead-end alleyway. For some reason, you went out the back door, it locked behind you. You know, you've got to get past this thing.
Oh, okay, so it's a dead-end alleyway, and I've got foot dragger in front of me.
Yeah, dragging his way towards you.
Blocking me in a dead-end alleyway.
No, you could, like, it's like 3 people wide, so you could realistically walk around.
Right. Yeah. Keys between fingers.
Yeah. Talk me through this.
I would then gauge...
It's getting closer, Trent.
I would then gauge what he was doing.
Okay, he's about 20 metres away.
Is he looking at me?
You can't tell, like, it's really backlit. Like, it just looks like a black silhouette.
Yep. Hands sneakily out of my pockets. Keys between my fingers by my side. Bald
15
fist.
metres.
Yeah. I would then just walk up to it.
Yeah.
Because, realistically, I don't expect a zombie. And then I would try to get past it.
Okay, it like twitches towards you.
I would punch the fucking thing.
Oh, mate! Fucking hell! I just had a bad curry, you cunt! Oh, Jesus Christ! It's sticking out of me fucking head! It shouldn't be able to do that!
Okay, that's not entirely true. I would have pushed it first. Because, like...
You got a handful of fucking keys.
Yeah, but that's if I'm getting attacked.
You're not gonna, be like, oh, what should I use? This handle?
Okay, no. So I'm trying to get past him. Okay, if I'm trying to get past someone I find creepy, realistically, I'll take it back. What I think I would do is I'd push him first.
Right.
Right? After I've pushed him, if he starts shouting at me and, like, coming at me again, yeah, I might hit the guy and run. That's what I'd do. But I walk around with my fingers...
Okay, when you exited that alley, would you be looking side to side to see if there was more things like that
If
coming?
he was obviously decayed, then yes.
No, you can't tell. He's silhouetted from multiple angles. There's very complicated lighting going on.
Then I would have assumed he was one of the various, like, mental health consumers or ice addicts around, and I'm just like, that's that. I would have just run away from the guy... and be like, that's it.
You've got no fucking poetry in your life. I thought, like, being a fucking nerd like you, you'd be like, right, yep, I'm instantly on it. Get the nearest gun, go there, shoot anything that isn't clearly, a wide-eyed cherub in the head.
I've actually got a story about this, right? And this is exactly why I wouldn't do this. Because, like, I just don't find it reasonable. Like, I think what I think my reasonable...
Reason's gone out of the window at the end of the world, Trent. This is the sort of the moral... quandaries will hold you back. Like, you'll be half a second slower than me, and you'll be like, a zombie will get a bite on your foot and you'll be infected and dead in a day. Whereas I'm just like, fuck everything, and I'm just like running to the border.
But do you think you would honestly assume that? Given what you know, like, you don't believe zombies are a thing, presumably.
Well, look, okay, so look, on any given day, I'm like 50%, like you ride enough public transport, you're like 50% the way of like twatting someone anyway.
Yeah.
Someone gives me like a reasonable cause, I'm doing like a double stomp fly kick into their face.
But see, I agree with you there, but like, that's, as you know, that's an individual. And this is why the zombie apocalypse is such a big thing, why it spreads, because people don't assume that they're anything more than the more rational explanation.
Right.
Until it's too late. Right? And this is where most of the initial people get carked off. The survivors are the ones who have managed to find themselves in a unique position where they're either A, immune, or B, they've managed to see enough without being directly harmed themselves to be wise to what's going on. Or you've got the coma person who wakes up after X amount of days for some reason, still alive.
Nobody wants to be that guy though, because then you like got a fucking drip in your arm. You probably like got brain damage anyway, so...
And so you're basically stuffed. And
But it probably means you're the main character of the movie and you got to survive.
True. And you weren't there for all the initial stuff.
Yep.
So, like,
But either way, I reckon, like, I don't know, someone acts weird enough to me, I'm fucking... we live in such, like, a hazy bubble of not reality anyway. Like, you probably watch more TV in a day than you have, like, thoughtful interactions with people.
True.
So you just default to that state and you're elbowing people out of the way and just going crazy.
Yeah, but on the whole, I think you keep it non-lethal. Generally speaking.
Speak for yourself.
The exception would be people who actually deal with those sorts of, like, crazy addicts and like more messed up people.
In which case, they're even more likely. They're like,
They're
this
more-
is my chance.
Yeah.
It's a dark alley. Nobody can see anything.
That's right, yeah.
For some reason, the lighting always blocks off this person, so
Corruption,
they can never make a good
corruption.
ID.
Yeah, I personally think that's my reasonable reaction. But no, I had this, I was running a game,
Yeah.
which was a zombie apocalypse game.
This is a board game.
Well, a tabletop RPG, not
Okay.
quite a board game. And the concept of this game is you play yourself,
All right.
okay, as a player.
Okay.
Now, the scenario was this.
Yeah.
A group of friends, they're at a house, right?
Yeah.
Enjoying each other's company.
Right.
Now, for some reason, there's riots in the streets with police and stuff announcing, to stay in your homes. There's some civil unrest
Fair
ongoing, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Right? Cool. People stay in their homes. They don't know what's going on. At some point, a couple of police in like tactical gear come up to the door. They knock on the door.
Right.
And they ask the people to let them in because they're going to fill them in on what's going on and evacuate them from the area.
So, are you saying, would I let the police in under those
Hang on.
circumstances?
Actually, yeah, we'll start with that. Would you let the police in?
Seems pretty fucking suspicious to me.
Well, they're coming up to say that
Yeah,
the
no,
area...
like, I'm just going to fill you in on some shit. It's like, do it through the door if it's all the same to you.
Now, just precursor to this,
Yeah.
you had some people rioting outside.
Well, then the police should be fucking dealing with that.
Correct. But if they tell you, we're going to evacuate you out of this area, it's too dangerous.
You can have a cheeky peek out the window or whatever, and if it's just like some like drilling redhead with like his dick in his hand, then I'm not going out there.
No, just a group of ordinary...
Trent, what are you doing?
No.
We have to live in this fucking neighborhood.
But no. Like a group of ordinary, riot police. And they come up and they're telling you we need to evacuate you from the area.
See, I'm as bad as you. Like, if you ask me this, I'm just going to keep asking for more and more and more information. I'm like,
Yeah.
do their clothes look like they recently stole
No.
them? Does the pants, like, the guy's pants only go down to his shin,
No,
so he
all of
he's
it's-
like wearing a small man's uniform?
All normal.
Okay, alright.
What do you think you would actually do?
Oh, I'm probably just such a
He's
slave to
talking
society
normally.
like everyone else. I'll just be like, yes, officer, please come in.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to give me that answer just because I'm pushing for it. But, because obviously I've got a moral here. Now,
No, look, honestly, I probably would. Much like everyone else, you defer to authority when you don't know what's going on.
correct. Now, this friend of mine.
Always listen to your dom.
Now, this friend of mine,
Yeah.
playing himself, adamantly believes that the moment all this is going down,
Yeah.
and the moment the police arrive, he locks the doors,
Yeah.
refuses them entry,
Yeah.
and immediately arms himself.
Like guns that he's like sequestered away or something like that.
Kitchen knife. He then starts ordering the other friends
Yeah.
to say, I'm going to watch the back door.
Yeah.
You guys don't open the front door.
See, this is what happens. This is like, there's a movie called The Mist, which you might have seen, which has got a fantastic thing about this, which, I mean, I guess it happens in most apocalypse movies. It's like, you get your survivors together, and there's always some nutter who just like starts to be like, all right, this is a biblical plague. We're going to have to sacrifice the virgins and paint ourselves with their blood or something like that. And you're just like, holy shit, man. The cable's just out. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like anyone with that much alacrity to abandon society was just looking for any fucking excuse. And you're going to like end up, being that World War II Japanese guy who stayed in the cave for like 20 years after the fucking war went over because he just, he's like, I'm isolationist. I want to do this anyway. You have to have a really convincing reason for me to come out.
And see,
Marco,
and this is what I meant about that.
world champion, hide and go seek player.
Well, this is what I meant about that nerd thing. Because I think it's very common in that sort of like nerd culture where because they're generally relatively smart people who spend their time thinking in these like imaginary sort of worlds, but somehow relating it back to reality because it's how they make it more interesting. Right. This particular person is fascinated with military strategy, tactics, things like that, knows the weapons.
I think I might even know who it is based on that.
Yes. Now, this particular individual,
Yeah.
because he knows all this stuff,
Right.
likes in my mind, likes to think that when push comes to shove, he's able to collect himself perfectly, ignore all of the sensibilities that society has built up around him, and instantly just go, okay, this is automatically a threat. When there's nothing to tip you off about it, right? Now, the trick here was that it was a zombie scenario, but the zombies maintain their faculties and their intelligence at the beginning. And it begins to fade over time.
But they still want to fuck you up at the beginning? Like,
Yeah.
they get an instant malevolence.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it starts as like a malevolence that eventually just degrades all the way down to just predatory animal instinct.
Right.
Right? But they start off as basically just more primal human,
Yeah.
but they still retain their knowledge, right? So they can still use weapons, still talk to you,
Right.
whatever, but they do start to go like pale and stuff like that.
Okay.
Now, that was the scenario.
Right.
I just found that unreasonable. But he was adamant that he was like, this is what I know, this is what I would do. Here's all the reasons I would do it. But then you've got like, well, and this is that thing of like, you know, it's easy to say like, oh, in that situation, I would do this. But then like, have you ever actually been to war?
See, all right,
You know?
here's my perspective on it. You made an interesting statement. You're like, oh, because they're kind of nerdy, they spend like, you know, a lot of time introspectively sort of figuring these things out. Whereas I'm like, because they're nerdy, they've got zero social skills.
Yeah.
And zero sort of like self-awareness. So they're just like someone who's going to fucking, you know... Just be like, get away from this, my magic cards. Poking at a broom. Mom, these are really valuable.
Well,
I'm defending myself against the apocalypse.
you can't really judge nerds that way anymore, unfortunately. It's not the stereotype it once was.
Mate, I'm a proto-nerd. I'm a fucking, you know, I'm an isolationist nerd. I'll sit in the woods by myself.
So you're a redneck. It's like...
Yeah, I guess. I do have a lot of redneck tendencies.
No, well, this particular one happens to be an extroverted, well-spoken, loves socializing kind of nerd.
Yeah.
So, and
I don't know.
I just find that as a divorce from, like, your self-image and reality. In the sense of, like...
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all delude ourselves in one way or not
Correct,
the other.
yeah.
I think the problem is if you're saying it's a role-playing experience, then you can't fault him for playing a role in a way.
No. It's just... I find it interesting.
I don't think anyone has got enough self-awareness to like completely embrace all their faults.
And it was
realistically.
it was more the the adamant defensive attitude, which I found fascinating.
Well, you know.
Yeah,
I don't agree with you on principle as well.
fair enough. And I mean,
even when you're right, especially when you're right, in fact.
and to me, it comes back to that moral quandary as well, because it's basically saying like, I'm able to make an adequate decision about where I stand on an issue without having actually had any exposure to the real issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is true.
And I just find that a very common but potentially faulty aspect of people.
Yeah, well, I mean, if everyone only waited for experience to teach them, though, they'd all sort of walk around in a hazy bubble like us and never make any decisions. He's like, well, I just don't know. I don't have enough
think
data.
Alien idea communications. So, I've discussed this with you previously as a preparatory thing. So, I heard this on another podcast, but I felt like discussing it just because I was curious. This concept about how people throughout history, you get your occasional just 1% geniuses who rise, and they, out of nowhere, they seem to develop these ideas. Like, freaking Newton and the bloody apple or whatever, and... I think someone was in a bathtub and they just spontaneously had some bizarre idea.
Apocryphally, Archimedes.
Archimedes.
Yes.
Now, there's an explanation behind this
Yeah.
that I've heard, which is you have some aliens who are like, they're sophisticated, part of some big galactic syndicate of
Right.
like ascended interstellar beings, right?
Right.
They're just like, we have mastered our society enough to be able to spread out into the stars and then communicate with other races and we're all jolly.
Blah, 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 blah. Yep.
They're like, humanity's got potential.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do? We're going to shoot, like, I don't know, psychic ideas at them that will guide their development along the right path. Because they need to follow a certain progression
Right.
to reach ascendancy.
Fair enough. Yep.
So that they have the maturity to deal with the ideas that they're developing. So
That's
we will
right.
shoot the ideas at them bit by bit. Certain people will develop it, and then it'll grow, right?
Yep.
And then once they reach a certain point, they will then advance, and we can like approach them and bring them into the fold of like galactic civilization.
Fair enough.
I thought that was a fascinating concept.
Yep.
And then in the same thing, people made the joke that the electric car Elon Musk shot into orbit is just an example of it's going to be one of those sort of fuck ups the aliens didn't anticipate, where that car will be the thing.
Never underestimate the capacity for human stupidity.
That's right. And that car will be the thing that takes out the alien ambassador ship when they come to present to us. And that's how the alien invasion begins. So
Well, I mean, the problem with this concept that I see is you're essentially just repackaging religion. You're just once again putting off the whole idea about trying to figure out ultimate responsibility another step. You're like, oh, look, where did it all come from? What's anyone doing? Oh, now it's aliens. That's the same thing as God. It's like, we have a purpose. Something is directing us and getting us to a point so that we can finally join it in nirvana, rapture, whatever you want to say. But yeah, like, it's exactly the same problem with religion. It's just sort of like, okay, can you prove it? No, fair enough. Well, let's stop talking about it then, shall we?
And this is why I wanted to bring it up, was exactly that point, which was why don't people why are people so unsatisfied with just accepting the idea that we are awesome and are capable of, like, isn't that really insulting?
Trent.
Like
Trent.
Yeah.
What do you think's your best quality?
My best quality?
Yeah. Look me in the eyes while you tell me this.
I don't really think about my best quality.
Okay. Well, sell me on dating Trent. Like,
Dating Trent.
Yeah, like, what does Trent... Keep looking me in the eyes while you tell me this.
This is a bad thing to ask
Yeah,
me.
exactly. People feel fucking awkward when you ask them to, like, talk themselves up. So this is why, like, it's saying, humans, why can't we just accept that we're awesome? Because that's not how we're fucking geared. You're naturally bred, born... fucking developed through your whole life to hate yourself, Trent.
Well, I feel religion does that to you.
You're too fat. You're not pretty enough.
But, and we don't have a problem with admiring other people, generally. But for some reason, we're still happy to say, okay, I admire what that person's done, but it's not all them. It's got to be a gift from God or some crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can accept the fact that I'm not necessarily bound for changing the world on some epic scale like certain people do, right? I think that's a very rare portion of the population who have a really significant impact, like a huge one.
Fair enough, yep.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying that... Okay.
You could have a horde of illegitimate children and, put some horrible genetic defect into the gene pool that stays around for years to come.
Well, I've got Ranger genes.
Yeah, exactly.
That is probably my best feature.
I was going to say, Trent, you're going to have to sign up for voluntary sterilization, We're trying to improve the human race here.
Well, yeah, in order to do that, we have to all be pale and Ranger. Now,
all right.
So...
Point of conflict.
Orangutans, one of the most intelligent apes. Now...
And yeah, you didn't get much further than that.
No, shut up. No, but I guess my point there is I find it... I wonder what everything... Maybe it's just like the ego is a dangerous thing and governments figured this out early, so then they've tried their hardest to suppress the ego to prevent like individual instability.
But see, now you're doing the same thing. You're fucking extending the problem. It's like, why are we so shit? Oh, it must be another entity. It must have been the government who was pushing this.
No, but what I mean is like, I can see how...
some personal responsibilities.
In fact, that is a personal philosophy of mine. Yeah. But I feel people are generally socially conditioned by the mass. Right, it's part of society. Yeah. Right? It's part of being part of a society.
It's called living together, yep.
Correct. Now, I can see how if everyone was just like, yeah, I'm awesome, look at all the awesome shit I do, and then they just run around being awesome all the time, then like, I can see that creating a lot of conflict in society because you'll have a lot of awesome egos butting heads. Right, so I can see why you would have that need to, in order to generate a communal society, to just say, no, we're all on an equal plane. And so therefore no one's allowed to be better than anyone else, but you all have to work. So I can see how that works. But then like, at the same time, I see it as tragic that like, it's also an equally destructive mindset because we're just saying nothing you do, no matter how great, is actually just you. It's, you didn't have that good idea Newton or Einstein or whatever. It was God, or it was the aliens, or it was someone else other than you. So your achievements don't actually matter. And then, like, why would anyone... There's no reward scheme there. Like, I think people function off rewards, right?
Yeah.
Generally speaking. There's no reward scheme there to reward productive, innovative behavior. The reward scheme is actually be a menial.
But I mean, okay, we can, if we're likening it to religion, then you can just push back to the religion angle, saying sort of the process is its own reward. It's sort of like you creating, or you're developing, or praying all the time, or whatever, is your reward within that structure.
I think that is tragic.
Because you're arguing with a non-determinist point of view, say, what's my reward, into a determinist system. That's where your conflict's coming in there. It's sort of saying, I want my fate decided, but I also want to get a reward that relies on me being like, having agency over myself. Those two things don't work together, Trentley.
Yeah.
Fucking drink the Kool-Aid, or, not know what you're doing and just start rubbing sticks together and see what happens.
Okay, look, I don't expect everyone to necessarily always be awesome and like achieve the best, but I think like the product of continual self-development and growth is an important mindset to have.
Yeah.
And that gets difficult to have when you're not allowed to take pride in your achievements, because your achievements aren't you for some reason.
Yeah.
Right? So... And then you're going to have people who will just...
Like I said, the religious angle. People take pleasure in being part of the process. Like, I mean, we're both not religious, so, like, this is a difficult kind of thing to talk about in any sort of objective way, but it's just... All I can say is not everyone thinks like you, I guess.
Yeah, well, I know that.
Like, I mean, you just... people who are happy being part of a system would be happy knowing they're fulfilling their role within a system. Whereas, if you're from a fucking island... which is like miles away from everywhere, in a town that's miles away from other towns, in a place where you've got like, you never have to go within 20 meters of anyone else. Of course you're going to have this idea that I don't want to like, I'm here by myself. I do everything for myself.
I think that's dangerous territory.
Yeah, it is.
But for one reason.
But it's understandable.
It is understandable. But what I find interesting about that is there's a big push against that mentality.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you look at a lot of recent affairs, when it comes to things like... Because what you're basically saying there is just, well, you have people who are just happy to accept their place in the world and that's it.
Yeah.
Regardless of where that puts them.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't decide that.
Yeah.
They get told that, and that's what they do. The problem with that is, and as we're seeing, is, for example... We're trying to do...
Okay, there was a pregnant pause where Trent's about to say something topical or fucked up.
Yes.
I could feel that, like, the gears were turning in his head.
There's the whole problem with racism.
Yep.
Right?
Who's the racist, Trent? Who's causing all the problems?
Everyone. Everyone's racist. Now...
Good political answer. But surely, if everyone was racist against everyone, it'd all just sort of even out. Who's the extra racist one?
I think...
I want, could you order the races in terms of a nice hierarchy for me?
Can I answer this? Here's how I view racism. Racism is... I don't see...
It's good in certain circumstances.
No, I don't see racism as just its own isolated entity. What I see racism as is just factionalism, but targeting specific factions rather than actually being a thing of itself, if that makes sense. I think...
Yeah, I agree. It's not a... I don't think it's a concept independent of other sort of... like
ways of
other
differentiating.
sorts of tribalism. It's just the same thing. Different.
Now, and I guess here's my thing is like, okay, you're the black person in society.
Yeah.
Everyone's white. You're only allowed these certain rights. You just have to work and you'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
You just have to do what we tell you to do.
Yeah.
If you were content with that, you could continue being a slave indefinitely. As
okay, we're going there, are we?
well, but this is where that mindset is sort of from. Because if you start justifying it that way, where you can just say, well, you can just be content with whatever anyone else tells you are or what you have.
Right.
And then, like, same with women's rights as well. You're a woman, you're expected to do certain things in society, right? Does that mean you have to? No, it doesn't. I mean, you can. If you're happy to do that, if you make the choice to do that and, like, you see the benefit in that, and that's where you want to be, then sure, that's where you are. But I think you should have the freedom to then... I think everyone should have the freedom to improve themselves in any way that they see fit. Don't repress people's creative development. Because you're suppressing humanity's potential by doing that, in my opinion.
There we go.
Yeah, you're
That was beautiful, Trent.
Yeah, anyway.
This is going to pop up as one of those, like, pictures of you standing on a platform with that all written out and some white text in front of you.
Is this where we play the patriarchy song?
I would if I had it. Thank you for listening again to DumbKants. I promise we will continue to provide such enlightenment and lovely topics in future episodes to come. If you feel like writing in to tell us what we've got wrong, what we've got right, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, or just call Trent an idiot, they're always good.
This is highly experimental, so...
Yeah, so experiment with different ways of calling Trent an idiot.